Hello guys, and welcome back to another part of our inventory series. And in the previous video, it was a short one. We just did the context menu. So we just right click and we have the context menu. And in this video, we're gonna do the delete part, right? So let's get to work. So first thing we're gonna do here is in the BC inventory, make sure you open up the remove inventory item. And what we want to do here is pretty much similar to add inventory item. So we kind of have the same parameters. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do item to remove and quantity to remove. So we're going to go back here. Where is the remove item? Let's create here two parameters. First one is item to remove, right? And I would say that we kind of could pass a quantity as a parameter. Yeah, let's make it simple. Let's make sure we just pass the item and then we handle this after, right? And let's make sure that is st item, yeah? Because it's the inventory item we're trying to remove, right? The logic in here, guys, is quite simple. It's not complicated. What we do here is from the st items, we're gonna go to we're gonna break this and we're gonna find that item. Remember that we have a function here called find inventory item, and we're just gonna pass the name here and make sure that is valid. So for now I am just gonna print this here, and I am gonna make sure we do it like just a color, different color. Compile and save, and let's make so this can actually work, and then we can actually start to make this come to life, right? So to make sure that delete works is we kind of have to go here to the delete function. So if you go back to the context menu, compile and save here, we have the delete function, and you have the use, actually I call it user, I didn't even notice. I'm just gonna call this use and make sure we call this let's type it again. Nice. Cool. So what we're gonna do here is on the drop, we're gonna go where is the on clicked. So when the player clicked, we can do stuff with this, right? So to delete an item, what we can do here is there is a couple of things that we can do here. There's a couple of other logic and there's a bunch of stuff that we can do here. So in things like World of Warcraft, when you delete an item from your inventory, it's gone forever. But you don't drop a physical item on the world. But for games like Breath of the Wild and maybe The Witcher, I don't remember, if you drop an item from your inventory in the floor, you drop a picker that you are able to recover the item after. So we're gonna go down the route where we drop the item and drop a picker, so you can drop the item and get the item again and do all sorts of stuff. Maybe you could do as an option, but let's make sure that we can actually get the basic logic working. So right now I got access to my main inventory, right? So what I can do here is if I do a print, let's make sure that main inventory is valid. You don't need to do that. I just want to show you, I just want to make sure that this is working. You see that? That's working fine. Cool. So we got a reference to the main inventory. So once again, make sure it's valid just to avoid any kind of problems. It should always be valid, but you never know. Right, so what we're gonna do here is on the main inventory reference, I wanna get the BC inventory, right? So I'm gonna get BC or just inventory reference. And from the inventory reference, we can call this method remove item. But we kind of have a little problem with this, that we could I think that will be fine. Yeah, I think for this tutorial, this should be a nice way to execute this. I was just thinking that if you have like a multiplayer system, that logic may not work properly, but we kind of have to test it. But because we're just doing a single player, this should be alright, should work with no problem. So if we go back to the context menu here, we're gonna call the remove item. Sorry, remove inventory item. Right, it's gonna plug this here. And what we're gonna do here is, all we gotta do here right now is just plug the item straight to the component here. Let's compile and let's see what's gonna happen. If that works, if everything we did works, we should be able to see this print here, yeah, on a yellow color. False or true, doesn't matter. So come back, delete, that's true. So which means that it has found the item, so we can actually drop that item from the inventory, right? Okay, so far so good. So what we can actually do here is we're gonna create a branch from the has found the item. I notice I have there's a typo in here. Has found the item. Nice. So has found the item. If that's true, then we can remove the item. If that's false, there's nothing we can do. So we can just, well, there's nothing we can do already. Right. So what I want to do here is I want to make sure that whatever we get the item from the index. So let's do step by step. So, and then I'll show you what I want to do here. Because what I'm trying to do is I just want to make sure that the stack you're sending me is the same stack we have in the system. Then if it's the same, then we can delete the whole item. If it's not, then we just drop one by one or whatever. This may happen when you want to split some items, or if you just want to drop one item or whatever, right? So what I'm going to do here in the available items, I'm going to do a get reference, and the item index we're going to put in here, because at this point we know the index. So if I do print in here, right, we can just, for example, break the members, we can get a stack, and that should say 2, because this item here is only 2 in stock. Yeah? Nice. So what we can do here is we want to make sure that this stack, we want to make sure that this minus this, right, is let's do a branching here. Let's actually do a print here. I just want to make sure, not prime sound, I just want to make sure is I want to do a print string. I want to make sure this is 0. Yeah, if they match, right, if they match up 0 there, as you can see, then I want to remove the item for real. Otherwise, I just want to remove the quantity and set the new item. So what I want to do here is this guy is equal than 0, right? And then what we can actually do is a branch. So is the new quantity equals than 0? So if it's true, what you're gonna want to do here is you just want to delete or destroy. I think it's just remove index. So you're gonna come in here. Actually, remove index, not the item, because at this point we got access to the index because of this function. So we're gonna plug this in here. So available items, we can remove that. If it's false, then it's a little bit more complicated, but nothing too complicated. So what we want to do here is remember that in here we are just getting the item and making sure that whatever the quantity goes in there. So because we're already getting the item, we don't need to get the item again because the reference is already here. In this case, we can just call set members in the array. Remember, when you're doing a get, so if I just do an example again, if I do a get, right, if you get a copy you get a temporary access to this to your data. So which means that whatever you change in the array, it won't reflect on the real thing. But if you get a reference, which I think we're getting a reference, I'm not sure. I'm just gonna make sure it's a reference now. If you got a reference, then we have real-time access to the array. So whatever you do in the array on the set members in here, it will get reflected and it will get updated straight away. So at this point, what we're gonna do here is we just want to set the new stack because it's not zero. It could be more or less. We kind of need to make sure. I think is so if is greater. Let's do it in a different way. If it's greater than 1. If it's not, let me just do this way, and I'll explain why. Sorry, I just want to put here not. Right. So what I'm doing here, guys, is I know I was doing like 0, but this value may be negative. I'm not 100% sure yet. We need to test that. So what I want to make sure is that if whatever the outcome of this is not greater than 1, you know what, let's make it sure is equals 0, and then if something goes wrong we can debug this properly, because I'm not 100% sure this is gonna work, because this could return a negative value. So we kind of need to make sure that we are removing the negative value. But maybe we can actually do if it's less or equal than 0. There you go. Yeah, let's do less or equal than 0. Remove the index, otherwise you just update this stack in there, right? Because if it's a negative value, so if it's a negative value, if it's less or less than 0, you just want to remove the index, otherwise we just want to set up the new quantity, right? So at this point that should already be actually doing something, but we have to call that method, which is if you check in that inventory, we have that method called reload inventory widget. So let me open up this, go back in here, plug this guy here, and let's press return nodes. Nice. Let's compile and save, and let's hopefully it works. I'm not 100% sure. Let's see. So if you come in here, get the item, and then you press delete, that should have delete the item. Nice. Yeah, do I have the item there? Actually, it's gone for real. Yeah, so we kind of got the item being deleted. So that's really, really nice, which is good. So that has been deleted, the item, which is awesome. So we kind of have a very basic logic working for our inventory. So now we can grab items, we can delete items, we can do all sorts of stuff with those items. Right, so we get the item here, we delete the item, and then we can come in here and then we can drop the item. We need to fix this, but I'm just gonna do it in a minute. Right, cool. So at this point we are already deleting the item with no problem, which is a very, very nice thing to do. Now the next step that we have to do here is to drop a physical item here. We need to spawn the original item picker, right? So to do that is, once again, is a very simple thing. It's nothing too complicated. We're gonna handle everything in here in a minute. So to drop the item is we kind of need to get a reference of what this item is and what the values may be, right? So we need to know what is the item and how can we actually, we need to spawn the item in front of the player somehow. So to do this, first of all, we have to change the our item structure. So let's go back in here. Let's close everything. Let's just leave the BC inventory open. But so if you go here to content, main, we're gonna go to variables, go to item, and then in the st item, open up this, we're gonna have to change some informations in here, right? We're gonna have to actually add one extra field, which will be the picker reference. So I'm gonna add a variable, right? And I am gonna call this picker, or just item picker or something. And I am gonna make sure that the type of this match to this box here. If you browse to, if you edit this, remember that they have the type of BP base item. Yeah, so we want to make sure they have the same item. So in here, we're gonna go here and change this to BP base item, and make sure it's a object, is a class reference. The difference between a class and an object is that a class can create the object, but the object is already the class created. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but that's basically the difference between those, right? So make sure it's a class reference, because then from the class we can spawn the item itself. Now remember, because we changed the st item, and the st items be used in the tables and all in the whole project, so make sure you close this, close Unreal Engine, don't save anything a part of, I don't want to, the only thing I want to save here really is just the BPC inventory in my case, but don't save anything else, just close everything. Nice.